Pelicans are turning into the team that we've wanted them to be for a long time. As I'm currently recording this, they have the fifth best record in the Western Conference, and that means if the season ended today, they could safely get into the playoffs without having to go through the play-in tournament. And it's the first time they've comfortably been a playoff team since the AD era, and I'm just loving the way they're playing right now. For one, we've been saying this for a while, that if they get Zion back and fully healthy, then they'd be good enough to be a top 4 to 5 team in the West, and right now they're proving us right. They're playing pretty solid two-way basketball. They're sitting at the 11th spot in offensive rating, and expectedly, they're sitting at the 6th spot in defensive rating. Gotta give a ton of credit to Herb Jones for being spectacular on that end of the floor this season. He's making a very, very strong case for being selected to the all-defensive first team, and he's established himself as one of the league's best one-on-one wing defenders, and he's been a big key behind their elite play on that end, not just this season, but over the last couple of years. Even their top offensive guys like Zion and Brandon Ingram have stepped up on that end. They're not traditionally known for their defense, but they're doing a great job at holding their own. And I'm not saying they're playing like all defense level like Herb Jones, but they're doing an amazing job at holding their own. And when you've got your top offensive options buying in on defense, you know you're doing things right. And they have so much depth on that end as well. So a lot of people talk about bench production and just look at it from an offensive standpoint, but this team has so many guys in the rotation who can come in and provide some stability defensively. Jose Alvarado, Larry Nance Jr., Dyson Daniels when he's back and healthy, Najee Marshall. There are so many capable defenders on this Pelicans rotation. And now let's switch over and talk about their offense. Everything is clicking for them, and all of their top scoring guys find their lanes and fit so well with each other. They're getting so much balanced production between Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, Zion Williamson, and even Trey Murphy. Between those four guys, none of them are putting up absolute eye-popping stats. There are no 30-point-per-game scorers on this team. Zion, for example, is averaging a career low in points with 22.3 per game, and CJ McCollum's dipped from 20 points last season to 18 points this season. But as I mentioned, they fit so well with each other on offense. It's working. And I love this approach they've taken over the last couple of years, where they have Zion acting as a primary playmaker, bringing the ball up court and kind of bullying his way to the rim to open up shots for his team. And so many guys are benefiting from that. And I think that's one of the most underrated parts of his game. We could talk about his sheer power and athleticism he displays, but there's a reason why they defer to him as a playmaker a lot of possessions. He's putting up a career best 5.1 assists per game while playing that forward position. And for him in particular, this is such an important season in the midst of what's been a pretty confusing career. He's well on par to play the most games during a regular season in his career. He's already played in 54. Prior to this, the most games he's played in the season was 61. He's on the way to surpass that number. And this is his first opportunity to show us what type of player he can be in the postseason. Playoff production is like the litmus test for players. For a lot of analysts and fans, this is where certain guys can prove just how quote-unquote legit they truly are. And due to injuries, Zion hasn't had that ability to show off how effective he can be in the playoffs just yet, but this is the perfect opportunity for him to do just that. Despite the injuries that we've seen him have over the course of his career, he still has the potential to be a future top 5 player, as he's relatively young at just 23 years old. And this postseason is the ultimate stage for him to prove that. Because be honest, due to his unavailability over the last few years, he's fallen out of a lot of your top 5 players under 25 lists. So this is a big postseason for him in New Orleans, as it's the first time in a long time, or really the first time under the Willie Green era, where they've been able to operate with a fully healthy roster going into April. Now, do I think they're a real title contender right now? To be honest, I don't really know. They are a relatively experienced team outside of Zion. B.I. and CJ and a number of other guys have been in some intense playoff scenarios before, so experience isn't too much of an issue with them. And they do have multiple closers on this team. They're deep. They play well on both ends, so it's hard to truly count them out as real contenders, but it's also hard to be fully confident that they are. But that's the story with the West right now in general. It's very tough to tell who the real contenders are right now versus who the pretenders are. So I guess we'll have to sit back and see, but no doubt this team does look like they're going to be a very tough out in a 7-game series come playoff time. And for them, the basketball stuff that's been there, their biggest responsibility and their biggest point of concern moving into April is just staying healthy.